fear control it. Amen. This was one of those miracles where the miracle was not the end of the story. It was actually the beginning. In other miracles in the Gospels, when Jesus performed the miracle's it. The story has just ended, and that person supposedly lived happily ever after. With this miracle, the miracle's not the end of the story. The miracle is the beginning. And Jesus says that this young man was born blind. When his disciples asked him, who sinned? Did his parents sin? Did he sin? Why was he born blind? Jesus said, no one sinned to make him blind. They were blind. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. Therefore, this miracle is going to reveal God. That God will get glory out of this miracle. Whenever we talk about miracles, miracles are not ways to where God, supernaturally gives us what we want at the last second. Miracles are where God reveals who God is, God's love and God's grace in our lives. So whenever we hear or speak of miracles in our lives, what we are testifying is that God moved in our lives. That this is light that shines and shows the glory of God. But I want you to know this. In this passage, the miracle that revealed God's glory was not the miracle of sight. It was the miracle of insight. This young man hit the miracle of sight, where he was blind and then saw, did not reveal God's glory immediately. Matter of fact, what it revealed was the ugliness of people. The first thing it did was get him in a lot of trouble. When he was blind, he was invisible to society. No one paid him much attention. He sat on the outside of the park. People walked by him. If they had change that they didn't want, they gave it to him. Not the quarters, because they needed that for laundry, but they gave him the nickels and the dimes. Because what are you going to do in today's New York society with nickels and dimes, right? But quarters you still need for parking and whatnot. So here, they probably saw him and said how he was doing. He was blind. He was no one. He was an invisible person in society. His parents were involved in the synagogue, but they really didn't know what to do with him. There was not much awareness of how to integrate the outsiders and the disabled into society. If you were blind, you were blind. So he sat on the outside and he begged. He sat on the outside and he lived. He sat on the outside and he was not really an issue. He was something to ignore. Maybe he was a nuisance for a little bit, but he was nothing there. He was invisible. And you know what? He did not ask Jesus to heal him. He was just minding his business on the outside. Jesus walked by and takes the initiative to heal this young man. Jesus said, I'm going to heal this young man so that God may have the glory in his life. He did not ask for it. He did not say, help me. He did not say, show mercy on me. He didn't say anything of the sort. He was minding his own business like a good New Yorker would. Right? And then Jesus goes and he spits on the ground and he mixes it in the mud. He kneads it in the mud. Now, I know, and then he puts it on the man's eyes. And then he tells the man, go wash in a pool a little distant from here. And when you wash it, then you'll be able to see. So the blind man says, I got nothing else to do today. Why not? So the blind man takes this saliva and mud in his eyes, and he's walking down to the pool, and he washes it, and when he comes back, he's seeing. But by that time, Jesus is gone. Nowhere to be found. Now, why did Jesus spit in the ground? You ever wondered that? Why did he spit and make mud, right? One of the reasons he did, Jesus was Jesus. Jesus could have been like, healed, right? Immediately. Jesus could have been like, healed immediately. Jesus could have been like, healed immediately. He could have done it multiple different ways to heal a man's eyes, but he spits in the ground, he mixes it, and he muds it, right? Why does he do that? It was the Sabbath. And the Sabbath is a very holy day. And you're not supposed to do any work on the Sabbath. And there were 39 rules, 39 things you cannot do on the Sabbath that was considered work. So a tailor was supposed to leave his pin out of his clothes an hour before the sunset of the Sabbath, lest he forget that he had his tools on him, and on the Sabbath he goes into his pocket or whatever to reach for something and takes out his tool. If he takes out his tool, he would have broken the Sabbath because he was, quote, carrying his work. Little things like this. If they still have something like this in the hospitals, if you notice that there's a Sabbath elevator, where on the Sabbath it just goes on each floor, so that you don't have to press the button and light it up, so that they don't, quote, work. Now, another thing that was work, it gets bad on the Sabbath, because if your house is burning, this was a real issue, because you couldn't carry out your clothes, because carrying out something meant work on the Sabbath, but you could wear your clothes, and that was considered fine on the Sabbath. So if your little house was burning, you would have to run in there, put on one pair of clothes, run out, take off one pair of clothes, run back in, put on one pair. That's how you would have to save your clothes. It was very particular. What Jesus did was he spit in the ground and he mixed it. He did work on the Sabbath. So though he healed him, the way he healed him was he broke the Sabbath. Now, before we go crazy and think that these Pharisees are legalistic and a bit rigid, too much, the reason this was so